How do you double your caseload? How do you get more clients by getting your internet right? And the thing is that a lot of people are doing it wrong. Now, if you're as old as I am, I mean, I got out of school in the 80s. There was a time when if you wanted to do anything successfully in your business, what you did is you took out an ad in the Yellow Pages. So, you know, everybody got that big yellow book. It was delivered once a year. You either advertised in it, you made sure that the name of your firm started with an A. You know, that's why, you know, like if you're a locksmith or something, it's AAA locksmith, because you want to make sure that you were sorted at the top, because people don't go and search all the way to R and V and Z. You know, they want to be at the top. And so what a lot of people used to do, and they used to do it very successfully, is they would list themselves in the Yellow Pages. And that was the de facto way. It didn't matter if you were old, if you were young, whoever you are, it was like, hey, I need to go to, you know, I need a locksmith, I need a plumber, I need an electrician, you know, I need an attorney. I'm going to go there because that was the place you went to get results, right? Now, you know, I don't need to be the first one to tell you that that's not what people do today. And it really doesn't even matter what the age group is. You know, as much as people like to say that, you know, the older generation isn't online, that's not true. A lot of families have, you know, they're dispersed where the grandkids live in one part of the country, and then, you know, the grandparents live somewhere else. And those grandparents, people in that age group, are communicating with the young folks, and they're using the internet to do that. So, you know, remove from your mind that the older generations don't use the internet. They do. And the statistics will tell us, you know, that it's blatantly clear. When people come up and go to find a service that they want, they go to the internet, and 97% is the number. Now, they might do it on their PC, probably not. The place they're really going is they pull out their cell phone and they check it out here, because who carries their laptop around? Even if you're, you know, using a tablet, people are on their phones. And, you know, just think of, hey, I'm in a new town and I'm looking for a restaurant. You come up, you go to Yelp, you go to Google Plus, you know, you go to Yahoo Local, and you find a restaurant and you find out what people's ratings are, what their reviews are. And it's kind of like, hey, look, we're thinking of Chinese. Hey, look, this Chinese restaurant has a bunch of positive reviews, 5 stars out of 5. Let's try that place out. So this is where people go to get answers. Now, if you are someone who was very involved with the Yellow Pages, a lot of people, what they did next is they got a call from their Yellow Pages people. Now they're called YP.com. And what the YP guy did is say, hey, look, you know, you're probably noticing that you're not getting a lot of calls from these ads. And I tell you, these ads, you know, were thousands of dollars a month. It's not like these were inexpensive. And so the YP guys went out and said, hey, we've been doing business with you a long time. We want to do right by you. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you into YP.com, which is the online Yellow Pages. And a lot of people, either through loyalty, you know, they're naive, you know, they really didn't think it through. YP is not what people wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to go to YP.com and I'm going to look for my lawyer. You know, that's not where people are thinking. They're thinking Google, they're thinking Bing. So that idea is not the right one. Now, here's another thing. When a YP company or someone like that approaches you, they're going to include a website with it. And that's definitely a valuable thing. You know, there's money, you know, you got to spend some money to get a website. So when they say, hey, we'll include a website in it, the problem is that these kind of companies give you a generic website. Now, it may not look like everybody else's, but it's going to be, you know, the front page that describes the firm. It gives you, you know, maybe, you know, here's the services that we offer. And then, you know, there's like a page with all the services on it, but there's nothing engaging about it. There's nothing personal about it. Now, this is when I like to refer to my site. You know, if you go to familylawmarketingguru.com, you'll see my picture on it. If you go to our agency site, larryjacob.com, you'll see my picture on it. You'll see pictures of our team. In that site in particular, I include why I named the company Larry Jacob. It's named after my father and my grandfather, Larry and Jacob. And, you know, that's where the name comes from. I want people to connect with me. I want to be more than just a corporation, because people don't do business with corporations. People do business with people. And before people pick up the phone, before they get out there and try to check you out, they are, before they talk to you, they're going online and they're scouring the net for information on you. They're definitely going to go to your site. They're going to go to third-party sites. They want to see what kind of reviews you have. And they're sizing you up. So when they're on the phone with you, or when they've emailed you and are asking for a call, what they're really trying to do is to validate if what they know about you, what they've read about you, is true. They're not waiting for you to regurgitate a full-blown introduction of that, because they already know that. What they want to find out is this all true, or is it fluff? They're also trying to see if there's a personal connection. Do I like this person? Because the last thing you want to do is have, let's say a lawyer represent you in a divorce, and have that person be someone that grinds you, that just annoys you all the time, that doesn't share, the priorities that you have. So that's important. By the way, and that's another reason why, in order to personalize your site, what you really want to do is put some video on there. So not only can people see you, but they hear you, they see how you express yourself, they get a real personal feeling. And I tell you what, I produce so much video that I'll go to conferences and people will walk up to me and said, I know you from somewhere. And, 9 times out of 10, it's because, I've produced a lot of video blogs, and they've seen me in action. And, every once in a while it's like, oh yeah, you're that guy. And they won't remember my name. They won't remember the company that I work with. But they will come up and they go, you're the guy that produces those videos on this subject. So those are the kind of things that when you work with a large company who focuses on, let's say, yp.com, they're not going to get you the information that, a website that's going to give the information that engages with your customer. So enough about that. So after you've dealt with someone from yp.com, now you're likely to work with someone that says, hey, look, we can do paid ads for you. So that means that when people do a search, they'll search for, family law Miami. That's where I live. Here in the example, we've got family law attorney in Naples. So what we're trying to do is do a search, and then by paying for it, we're showing up. And then you see these little ad things in here, it'll show up. Now, in these sort of services, you get that same thing. You get like the cookie cutter websites. You're not going to get video on them. You're not going to get a lot of real personalization, and you're not going to get content on those sites that really represents you in a way that attracts people. So the problem is the engagement is low. And what we have found is, in situations where people are only doing paid searches, you get some sort of results. I mean, I can't knock it. You will get some response, but it's tough to get a good return on your investment. It almost seems like every month you get a bill, and the amount of business you got in is about the same. So, you're kind of breaking even. Maybe you're making a little bit. But when you think about the Yellow Pages day, where people had the paper, and they were giving you results, you're definitely not getting that. So it's an offer to consider. And pay-per-click, is something that we include in our offers, but it's something we offer secondarily, and I'll explain to you in a little bit why. So, this is kind of like an evolution that we've seen a lot of the businesses that come to us looking for services that have gone through. And then, so what I want to do is kind of illuminate you. How do we get beyond this? How do we make the internet really work? How do we get our internet marketing right so that we get results? So, like I said here, this is not an option to consider. We got a thumbs down on there. But what is it that you really do need to have? So in order to get your web marketing right, these are things that you have to have. First of all, you have to use the latest visual design standards, and that includes making sure that your site looks really good across all platforms. If you look at the stats, you'll find that half the people that arrive at your site are coming from a phone. They're working on their mobile device. Maybe they're on a tablet, but for the most part, they're on the phone because everybody's got a phone everywhere they go. So the website doesn't even just need to perform well on a phone. It needs to be optimized to work best on your phone. And then it has to work, of course, well on PC and Macs. So that's something that just absolutely needs to happen. It's got to look modern. It's got to look, it can't be dated. And you'll go to a lot of sites that were built even like 2 years ago, and they already look dated. Now, there are ways to design sites, so you don't have to come back and visit it every 1 or 2 years. Maybe you can get 3 or 4 years out of it. But the whole point is it has to be current. It has to be perceived as, modern. Otherwise, people are going to assume, well, man, if the services these people provide are as good as their website, I'm a little concerned. So that's something you have to consider. Now, the website has to have personality, is what we like to call it. And the reason why this is so important is because we want to make sure that people arrive and they get to know you. If someone is looking for an attorney, let's say they're looking for a prenup, they're getting married, they're not thinking divorce, they're just saying, hey, I need a prenup for some reason. They're wanting to connect with someone that, obviously can do the contract work, that's a given, but they also want to connect with someone who's thinking about the same things that they're thinking about. I know I've been married 34 years, so I'm like fortunate. A prenup isn't something that even really was promoted back in the day. But, if I were getting a prenup, my biggest concern is, man, am I going to be able to present this idea to my fiance and still get married? Because this might set her off. It might make her angry. She tells her friends, and now her friends are all mad at me. I'm interested in getting married. Otherwise, I wouldn't have proposed to this lady, but I also want to protect my assets. So I want to make sure that the person I'm talking to understands that sensitivity. And in addition to getting me a contract, is enabling me to get it signed by my fiance in such a way that we are still friends. And not only friends, but we're soon to be married again, right? So, if it's something that's being imposed on me by my parents because my parents have assets and they're concerned about this person wanting to, gold dig on, whatever the thing might be, can my attorney really get in there with me, right? So that they're not just there to sign a contract, they're there establishing a relationship with me and actually helping me in my relationship with my, spouse to be. So that's what we mean by personality. Videos are key. If you go to, 5 different websites for divorce attorneys, just pick them. You'll be lucky if you get any videos. If you do get a video, it's like a generic, hi, how you doing? My name is, attorney at law, George Diaz. And they seem stiff, they're overproduced. They provide like a generic introduction, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have that, but I would like to hear an attorney giving an opinion about a prenup. Or if, let's say, someone has had an affair, my spouse has had an affair, and now, we're kind of getting back together, and now I want a post-nup. I would like to hear an attorney talk about that. What are the issues? What are the things I need to think about? You're not giving free legal advice. You're educating a layperson who is not an attorney. You're not providing legal advice. You're talking about the issues that come up, the things that are important in their mind, and to stay away from, crossing over any bar issues. What you want is to talk like you would talk to your son if they were getting married and you wanted to provide them with advice about a prenup, a postnup, whatever. So, it's super important that you get information on a site, almost blog-like, that's informational. So someone goes to the site, compares it to someone else and says, hey, this is a level above this other guy. And there's stickiness to it. It's like, I got a good feel for it. Well, there are very few sites today for a divorce attorney, for a family law attorney, where you go and you even get a feel other than something that's just corporate, with the bookshelf in the back or something. So you really want to get past that. Now, beyond that, now we're talking about SEO kind of things, search engine stuff. So you want to make sure that you have pages optimized for each practice area, the areas where you provide services. So you have to have an individual page for divorce issues, for child custody issues, for prenups, another one for postnup, adoption services. You know, all those services need their own page. And it's not because I want to build a bigger site for you, but it's because Google can only optimize, you can only optimize a page for Google search for a very small number of keywords. You can't optimize one page so that it comes up for family law attorney, Naples, Florida, and postnups lawyer, Naples, Florida, and child custody, Naples, Florida. And then, oh, by the way, you know, another town that's nearby, let's say Fort Myers or Marco Island. You can't do that with one page. You have to build a number of different pages, each of which talks about that service and then uses the words related to a location, so that when I search prenup agreement, Naples, Florida, that one page is optimized so that it can get to the very top of a search result for that key phrase or that key terms, set of terms. Now, you would have to then create another page for, let's say, adoption lawyers or adoption services lawyer, Naples, Florida. Now, this all sounds very tedious, and by the way, it is, but there's a science to doing it, there's a methodology for doing it, and these are the kind of things that make it so that your site ranks high when people are searching for terms, particularly terms in your local area, because, you know, keep in mind, people when they're searching are going to search for someone who's close to them. If I'm getting divorced in Florida, I'm not going to be looking for an attorney in Montana, right? So these are these are the kind of pages you need. The other thing is you need to make sure that you have inbound links. So what's an inbound link? An inbound link is a link on another site that points to you. So let's say, for example, Yelp. Yelp has actually done a good job of creating a place where you can check out the reviews of attorneys. So if you are listed in Yelp, and we'll talk about this, and you get reviews with Yelp, then you show up higher in Yelp because your reviews, you know, justify ranking you higher. But then Google comes up and says, hey, look, Yelp points to this site. Now, Yelp is no small player. They have a lot of clout. So you borrow authority from Yelp. You borrow authority from Yelp in the area of family law, and then that pushes up your authority, you know, in the search engine's eyes. And the same is true for Yahoo and Bing. All the search engines, you know, share a lot of the same processes, right? So you need to have a consistent process for getting these links built, and that's part of the, you know, those are things that you develop. Now, I've talked about reviews. You want to make sure that there's a systematic way to get reviews online. And I'll just give you something here. We've been working with a company that had no reviews. They just had no review strategy. And we set them up. They had sold in the last 3 months 163 installations. So they had 163 people that had never done any reviews. They had never spoken to them about reviews, but they kind of assumed that they were happy with their services. You know, they had a good reputation locally. And so all we did was send out an email that said, would you please rank us? Should take about 2 minutes of your time. It would be a huge help for us. We sent out the email and they immediately got 17 reviews. Now, that is the beginning of getting reviews. But if you have a process for consistently getting reviews as you're running cases with your clients after the results of the case were won, you will get reviews. The thing is that a lot of us, either because we're too shy, because it's not part of our process, we think we're imposing, we don't ask for them. But that builds a lot of credibility with the search engines. And honestly, if you're doing good work and you have good relationships with your clients, they'd be more than happy to get your reviews. And I just, you know, this just happened to be something that happened this week. We had this one client with 17 reviews. 17 reviews is huge. Try to do a search for family law attorneys anywhere, pick your city and try to find any one of the attorneys that shows up, like in the map listings. Try to find anyone that's got 5 reviews, 10 reviews. 17 is over the top. And that alone can make a huge difference in how Google places you in search results. And then you need to release content once or twice a month. The more consistent you are, the better. Publishing 4 articles in 1 month and then no articles for the next 6 months is not the approach. You want to be able to trickle out content so that Google and the search engines see that you produce content. Your content is consistent with the area where you want to get ranked in search. So it has to be somewhat related to family law. And you're providing advice. Actually, sorry, you're not providing advice, you're providing information. So you're providing information about, what would you do in this set of circumstances? You can talk about, how much does a divorce cost? And again, it's not like you're giving away your prices, but you're coming up and saying, hey, look, a really, simple, completely uncontested divorce starts at this. And, depending on where you live, that's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, whatever the number might be. And, if this happens, if you have to go and bring in forensic people and whatever, now it's $15,000, $20,000, whatever the numbers are. But if I'm thinking about getting divorced, and especially if I'm a guy, I'm probably going to be thinking, what's this going to cost me? And as a matter of fact, I say if you're a guy, if you're a woman and you're not the primary breadwinner, you've got to be thinking, okay, what kind of a shell shock am I going to be giving my husband if I serve him with papers, with the assumption that either they're going to pay or it's going to be shared, whatever the expense structure is. What am I getting into? And the attorney on the site that got a video or content or something that's being released constantly, and they cover, here's how much you can expect to spend on a, typical divorce like this, that's the one that's going to get me information that I want. Okay, so, so what does online marketing mean today? First of all, it means that you have an updated website based on what I just discussed. The website is not only set up to receive traffic, so, the search engine stuff, and we're going to talk more about that in a little bit, but is also set up to convert. And by convert, it means that people arrive, read, and then take some sort of real action. At a minimum, they, maybe asked to download, maybe a tips sheet, 10 things you need to, you need to think about if you're picking a divorce lawyer, 5 ideas for being most successful as you deliver a prenup to your fiance, whatever those things are. So the conversion would be that someone gave you their first name and their email address, and they downloaded, we call them lead magnets, but whatever it is that you're offering, because by the way, now you have their email address, and there's more on that when we start talking about email, right? So you have to make sure that your site is mobile friendly, because if you're not mobile friendly, you're losing at least half of your audience. You get active SEO, so you got the link building, you're creating content consistently, and you've optimized for Google Maps. So it's optimized for google.com places. I'm definitely going to cover this in the next section. You've got citation development, which means that you're getting reviews, and you're getting that really with a consistent process for getting reviews, from people. So, along those lines, you want to have an active social media. Now, by the way, these are in order of importance, except for this one. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about this last one. Social media is something you might want to consider. Facebook, Twitter, especially if you are active on those social media platforms initially. Email marketing, definitely. You want to create a list of people who know you. And so keep in mind, let's say, let me give you an example. A couple of years ago, my wife's cousin gets served papers by his wife. He comes over our house because we're pretty close, and he says, dude, look at what happened. And frankly, he was probably the last guy to think this was going to happen. We kind of saw it coming based on, just the way we saw the relationship. But anyway, so he comes to us and he goes, who do I call? Now, I don't know any divorce attorneys. We don't have divorce attorneys in our family. However, my brother, a year and a half earlier, had gotten divorced. And I remember him talking about, hey, the lady I had was great, whatever. He gave me some positive stuff. I go, look, call my brother Danny. He knows about divorce. He's been through it. He can give you a hand. But if I had not had my brother, I literally would not have a resource to refer to him with. But if I had been on social media and every couple weeks I'm seeing a message, information about divorce in my feed, I come up and say, hey, look, let me look through my feed. There's this guy that's really consistent. And because someone is sharp online, even if they're entertaining, like I referred earlier to Alex Hanna. He's our local ticket doctor. He's the one that you call if you got a speeding ticket to fix it. And it's entertaining. It's fun, but I remember the guy because he's consistent. He's out there. So if I do something like that via email, via social media, if my cousin comes to me and says, hey, who do I call for a divorce attorney? I go, look, I don't know if this guy's any good, but he's consistent. He seems very professional in the emails he sends me. Give him a call. And that's a way to kind of generate more word of mouth business. Now, I leave these for the end because I never recommend doing paid search first, especially in the legal field, because you could spend an awful lot of money, and believe me, Google and Facebook will take all the money you want, and they don't care if they get any results. So you need to do these other things first, see if that gets you results. So you do some testing, you do some, analysis, find out what keywords are getting results, what pages you send people, and then they get in contact with you, so that once you have something that works, then you throttle paid search and see the sort of results. But there's a method to this. You don't want to do paid first, because that can be expensive, and it can give you no results. Retargeting is something that we think complements a lot of this search well, because if someone arrives at your site, you can do what's called cooking them, and then every time they visit Amazon.com or let's say an NFL football site or whatever, the ads can be published only to people who visit your site. And the nice thing about that is it's hyper-targeted. It's only sent to people who have visited your site. The assumption is that they visited your site, they have an interest in what you have to offer them. And that being the case, you're sending it to someone who visited your site and then maybe decided not to do anything. But in the meantime, they may have gone to 3 or 4 other sites. And maybe they're kind of like, I haven't really found anybody that I like. And now all of a sudden they start seeing your ads everywhere, which makes you look bigger. It reminds them of you. And now it's like, hey, give us a call. So that's something that we recommend. Now, finally, you have to track and measure results. Otherwise, you're just kind of throwing sand into the wind and hoping it lands in the right place. So you want to find out, when you start campaigns like this, is the phone number you give is something that can be tracked. So you know exactly how many phone calls came in because of that campaign, that search engine term. And you can really watch this closely, because what you want to do is say, hey, I've done all this work. Here's the results. How many visitors do I have to my site? How many visitors are going to that page? And so the better you track and measure results, and you make this a standard, not just something you check every once in a while, now you know what's happening on your site. Now, if you're like most attorneys, you're busy. You want to be in the know. You want to understand how this internet marketing works. But what you really want is a team to work with you to implement these. And what we find is that a lot of law firms, when they try to do it themselves, first of all, they don't have the right skill sets because they don't do this every day. But even worse, they don't have the time to get it done right. So I want to invite you to schedule a strategy session with me. It's a 45-minute call where we're going to be going over your website. We're going to be going over your current search rankings. We'll go over your conversion factors, online reputation, and together we can help you decide how to best move forward with your internet marketing. Now, my calendar fills up pretty quickly. I only do about 5 to 7 of these sessions a week. So click on the button below. You'll get right to my calendar. There should be a time on there that's convenient for you. And I'd be happy to talk to you one-on-one. Let us know how we can be of help to you.